So a lot of people, well, at least a lot of people I know, are freaking out about what's going on all over the world. Whether it's the battles that are going on in the Middle East, or the battles going on in the Ukraine, or the protesters in Hong Kong, or the Ebola virus. The reality of things is that life is always going to have a lot of ugly going on. But the real tragedy of all these health scare epidemics and wars and fighting is when they start to detract from our quality of life. The US, we're a bunch of spoiled brats. We haven't really been hit with the real Ebola epidemic. That's all in Africa. We aren't the ones really getting hit by the conflicts in the Middle East. Yes, some loved ones are being killed there, but our buildings aren't being blown up. Our cities aren't being taken by different armies and warlords. There isn't mass protests in our major cities, and our government isn't being that oppressive that forces us into those protests. And in that sense, that we're keeping that in mind, that we aren't directly affected. The real tragedy that comes from all of these epidemics and wars is that we are letting it detract from our quality of life. We're living in fear. The way I see it, if we were told, yes, a huge epidemic is spreading, I wouldn't be afraid. I would enhance my quality of life. I wouldn't want to live in fear for such a long time and end up and spend my possibly last couple months in fear, paranoid, and not doing things because I'd be afraid I'd get the virus. If I'm going to end up getting the virus eventually, I'm going to live my life and have as much fun as possible. Smile and be happy as long as I can. If I knew a war was going to spread over to America, I would be as happy as long as I can, do all the things that I want to do. I would take advantage of every opportunity to be happy. Instead, a lot of us are dwelling on the fact that this world's going to shit. This world's always been going to shit. The only reason it seems like it is more of a problem now is because we have more resources to the news. You think this, all of a sudden, tsunamis and huge earthquakes and famines and plagues are spreading all over the place? You think this is like the most recent time it's happening? It's always been happening. We just haven't had CNN and CBS and Yahoo News and Google and Bing and everybody connecting us and telling us every single little detail has happened. People in the Middle East have been fighting for thousands of years, but now, because they attacked us 13 years ago, we have to freak out and make it our problem and say, oh, no, the world's coming to an end, religious wars, this is what was said in the Bible, blah, blah, blah. If you live in a part of the world that is not being directly affected by the different plagues and the different revolutionary wars and the different religious wars, and you're afraid of what is going to happen next, stop. Think. If it does spread, because there's a possibility it might. I'm not a psychic. Who knows? It might. But if it does, I'm going to live happily up until then. Even when it begins to spread, I'm going to live happily. Until I am infected, until I hear gunshots ring out down the street in my house, I am going to live happily.